Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is celebrating your uniqueness. We're often made wrong or bad because we're different. And today we get to look at how we get to bring our unique contributions to the world as a gift, and that we get to embrace and celebrate those aspects of ourselves that are not necessarily mainstream. The things about us that make us different and unique and define a portion of our unique contribution. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, and when you stop, feel the buzzing, all that energy, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to be starting the day with you, and great to have you here, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. So today we get to celebrate our uniqueness. I don't know about you, but I'm guessing that we've had shared experiences of being called out for being different. I was just looking up Enneagrams this morning to see what my profile might be, and to have an understanding around that. And it brought up the idea. Well, actually, I listened to a little presentation about introverts, because believe it or not, I don't know if I'm called an extroverted introvert or whatever, but I'm essentially an introvert. And it was talking about making way in the workplace for introverts to be appreciated for their contributions and their leadership and all different. It was really interesting because they were talking about how these organizations that were known for being extroverted type organizations had these teams of creatives that created the face of the organization that other people would be interacting with, and that group of creators were mostly introverts. It was interesting, so to be looking at the things that we've often made ourselves wrong for, or because they're different, they're not mainstream, the things about ourselves that other people have challenged us about, or targeted us for, even in some cases. These things that make us different are part of our unique gift. They're part of what makes our contribution so special, right? And the likelihood is, well, so I had occasion to be speaking with a very dear client talking about being dark and stormy, and that realizing, rather than having that dark and storminess be a deficit, that in fact it was a strength, because someone who is dark and stormy has the ability to navigate stormy, turbulent waters, and has the resilience to do that, and can guide others through that passage. And so that thing that people might be criticizing is actually a powerful, powerful strength. Could even say a superpower. So what are we going to look at? Let's look at and source our superpowers. What does it look like to be recognizing these things that other people might criticize you for as strengths? So I know growing up, within 5 minutes of meeting me, people would tell me either I was too intense or I was crazy. And so taking both of those and looking at those as strengths, because I'm guessing I'm not the only one out there, especially folks that are tuning into these morning talks, being too intense. Well, what does that mean? It means that there's like a different level of engagement, right? Like a depth, perhaps, right? A seriousness, or a broader perspective, or a deeper thinking, or what is that about? And well, this is, Rosalind says, like the produce that doesn't make the grocery stand. What if they had a special aisle next to the organic produce to showcase produce with abnormal shapes? It's so interesting that you bring that up, Rosalind, because there are companies that have grown up that are particularly about marketing those unusual. I rather than abnormal, I prefer unusual. This whole concept of normalcy is so insidious. And I guess that's part of what we're challenging today. I actually had my brother at one point in my life just screamed at me, "Why can't you just be normal?" And I had one of my nephews once said, why do you have to be so weird? And so like this, good morning, Dido. Welcome. So good to have you here with us. Welcome. So I'm celebrating and hoping to join you in the celebration of our uniqueness. So I told you that people would either say I was too intense or crazy. And what is crazy? Crazy, I mean, there are degrees, right? There's painful, tragic kind of crazy, dissociated. That's not what I'm talking about, but crazy in challenging the norms. This notion of normal. Look at some of the norms that we accept. We accept war as a norm. We accept that we accept poverty, and we accept abuse as a norm. We accept abuses of power as a norm. We accept we accept that in business, anything is okay because it's business. And it's all about money. I mean, there's so many things that we accept as norms that are really crazy, crazy, crazy. We accept that it's okay to make money polluting the world for everybody else who's living in it. We accept that that's okay. We accept that it's okay to own things like water, which is an essential, which is essential to human life. Talk about crazy, right? So there's a line from a song that is one of my anthems, I guess, maybe. I don't even know the whole song, but they go, boom, boom, ain't it great to be crazy? Boom, boom, ain't it great to be nuts? Well, when you think about what we accept as norms, maybe it's great to be crazy. Like that it's a healthy reaction, it's a healthy response to a world gone mad, right? To be bucking those norms. So I'm wondering for you, what is your uniqueness that we can embrace and celebrate? What is it about you that, maybe you're too emotional. You're too emotional. Well, what does that mean? It means that there's a connection with the world, that there's an ability for empathy, there's an ability to sense things that may be above and beyond the ability of the norm, in big air quotes. What else might it be that distinguishes you? What is it about you that's unique, that perhaps you've been made wrong and bad for, that perhaps you've been exiled for? Maybe those things are the things that are part of your unique gift that you bring to the world, your contribution. What if you like to go into minute detail around things? What if you love to read? I remember even as a kid, I did love to read. I still love to read and learn, but that made me weird. And so what if you speak to angels, and there's much more openness and awareness that people have this capacity these days, and you can be present to that without being committed. But talk about being crazy. Well, if you heard voices, I guess it's all a matter of degree right now, right? Because I imagine that there are still people that are institutionalized for hearing voices, and we have a culture that allows us to speak to angels. Now, I guess it depends in what context, right? But if you could see things that might be happening in the future, that would make you crazy, right? Maybe that's a powerful and unique gift. So I'm wondering, these unusual shapes shapes and sizes and tempers that we come with, how can that be a gift? I mean, even when we look at people, there's a huge rise in autism. We look at people, I understand now that it's not PC to be talking about Asperger's versus different forms of autism. I don't understand the logic behind that. If some of if you can help me out, that would be awesome. But that here are people with extreme, in many cases, extreme intelligence and an ability to synthesize information in a way that is extraordinary. You know, there may be other areas where there's, you know, there may be, we all have gifts and deficits, and even our deficits could be gifts in certain circumstances, you know, and who's to be sitting there judging what's a gift and what's a deficit, right? So you know, it used to be being too emotional was a deficit. You know, there's a way that we can hone that emotionality to be a gift, to allow us to sense into situations and circumstances. So what would it look like if you in your life embraced and even celebrated these things that make you unusual, these things that make you not normal, not part of the average, the norm, rather than accepting a sentence of being different or abnormal. What if we could turn those aspects of ourselves into gifts and contribution? So help me out here. Like, let's hear from you to hear what are other circumstances like this in your, you know, like what are situations in your life where you've been criticized for being different? What are those differences, and how do they serve? You know, so for instance, somebody who's spending a lot of time in imagining, in their imagination, well, that can be a superpower. I mean, look at all the wonderful books that have been written, and the plays and the movies and the philosophies, you know, oh, you're too intense. Well, you think about things really deeply. So what does that look like? You know, what comes of those deep thoughts? So Rosalind says the authentic self. This doesn't have to be a lonely place. That's a beautiful sentiment, Rosalind. It's a time to recognize and appreciate who you really are. Yet it feels like I'm going through the journey of self-discovery by myself. Well, I so can relate to that, Rosalind. For most of my life, because I was different, it wasn't that I initiated the thought that I was different. It's that I was told over and over and over that I was different, but by people overtly, and also by, you know, their behaviors and comparison and all of that. But there was a deep, deep loneliness and isolation, and I did feel wrong and bad. I was made to feel unacceptable because I was different in so many ways. And I'm suspecting that I'm not the only one. In fact, I would venture to say I know for a very, very strong awareness that you must have been experiencing similar things. So it can be a lonely journey. And thankfully now, at this stage of life and this stage of our culture, people are talking about this stuff much more. And there are ways to connect with people that have similar experiences or perspectives. And I really feel, I keep saying, this is the time of the reconvening of the coven, like those of us who are spiritually oriented and looking to transform the world, and the healers and the teachers and all of that we're getting back together. Dido says, I've been told I've been too thin-skinned and too much time daydreaming. I can see now that I'm highly sensitive and imaginative, and I'm glad. Exactly, Dido. Like, these are gifts. The fact that you're sensitive, the fact that you can pick up on the nuance of emotional atmosphere that's happening around you, and to see what's going on with other people, and to be attuned with what's going on within yourself. Really amazing. And imagination, I can speak for that with you, Dido. You have such a vivid and brilliant gift of imagining in such richness, like very few people I've ever encountered. Really powerful. So yes, these things are gifts. These are the things that we've been criticized and made wrong for. These are the things that made us different from other people, but they're the things that are our gifts. So Rosalind says, yes, EWN has been a blessing in other group forums to connect and discuss these topics. 100%. We are finding each other. The tribes are coming back together, and it's such an important thing, because especially as a sensitive, especially as someone who is thinking about the world in deep ways and experiencing the world in deep ways, it can be profoundly lonely and isolating. And to find other people that are like us is very empowering and important, to recognize that we're not alone, and to then be able to find a way to channel these talents, skills. I'm calling them talents rather than differences, because what makes a talent is that it's not common, right? Like, we can all use it, most of us can use utensils, right? So it's not considered a talent because, everybody can do that. What makes a talent is something that distinguishes us from others. There are differences. And so what if we start revering our differences as talents? And they may be talents that have not yet been expressed or have not been channeled yet. But what we can look at is, what are these differences? What are these things that are part of me that are different, and how can I channel them in a way that's life affirming for me, for others? How can I direct these talents, whether it be creating powerful, magnificent stories, or music, or we think about artists, and we all have this stereotype of the artist in our head, right? Because we've been we know artists have a different take on the world. Artists relate to things differently, perceive things differently, right? They're odd. Well, that may or may not be true, but that's the conventional perception, is artists are odd. Well, they're different. That's what makes art, right? That's what makes talent, is people being able to see things from a different vantage point, and to source things that other people wouldn't necessarily be sourcing, right? So all of this by way of saying you get to celebrate you. You get to recognize the things that people have identified as weaknesses, recognize that in so many cases they're strengths. Rosalind says, I've been told my facial expressions are hard to read, expressionless. Maybe I should take on playing poker. That could be a good thing. Or maybe negotiating. Who knows? High stakes games where people have told me that I do not have a poker face. Like my face reflects what I'm feeling. You know, like it's not something that I have the ability to really control. So, you know, that's a talent. I imagine there are places where that talent is really, really a valuable tool, or that aspect of self. Anyway, I'm noticing that it's getting to be time for me to go. So I want to just say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for your uniqueness and for, because we need all of it in the world, right? We need all of it. All of it is what makes life so rich. And we're part of the all of it. And instead of making ourselves wrong for being how we are and who we are, what if we were able to appreciate those aspects of ourselves and find the gift? Back to that theme that is one of our constants, is find the gift. So with that, I'm going to call it a morning and just say thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Mira Rubin, here with you on Enlightened World Network each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. That's the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. Each weekday morning, I know I said that, and I encourage you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living and EWN One with the Earth, all of those Facebook pages. And until next time, so much love and deeply, deeply appreciating and celebrating you.